Northumberland is a county famous for its medieval castles. Not least amongst them is the thousand-year-old ALNWICK Castle, seat of the legendary Percy family, the original kings in the north and now the home of Duke of Northumberland. Although its modern fame lies more with Blackadder, Harry Potter and the famous ALNWICK Gardens, it also has a more unexpected connection. ALNWICK Castle is purported to have spawned its own vampire. The strange tale of the hunchback vampire that stalked the grounds of the castle bringing terror and disease in its wake was most famously recorded by a medieval chronicler named William de Newburgh. Newburgh wrote his Historia Rerum Anglicarum in the late 12th century primarily as a work of serious history. He was quite proud of his research, and not above a little professional bitchiness, particularly about the work of fellow medieval historian Geoffrey of Monmouth, dreadful fellow. Nevertheless, de Newburgh was adept at adding a bit of local color and even a supernatural twist to spice up his narrative. Introducing the subject of revenants and vampire-like creatures, he manages to sound both archly aloof to the whole idea, whilst simultaneously seeming to claim that the eyewitness evidence supported the veracity of such claims. It would not be easy to believe that the corpses of the dead should sally, I know not by what agency, from their graves, and should wander about to the terror or destruction of the living, and again return to the tomb, which of its own accord spontaneously opened to receive them, did not frequent examples, occurring in our own times, suffice to establish this fact, to the truth of which there is abundant testimony. Despite de Newburgh's implication that he used apparently reliable testimony, there is little evidence of the ALNWICK vampire other than local legends. An early version of the tale says that the creature was the revenant of the lord of the estate who lived underground, and only came out to wreak mayhem and violence on the local peasantry. His reign of terror was finally stopped when the locals, no doubt wielding pitchforks, dug him up and burned his festering corpse. William de Newburgh elaborated on the tale and added a few more vampire-like attributes. In de Newburgh's version, the vampire is demoted, and the lord of the estate becomes instead a mere retainer of the lord. Perhaps de Newburgh did not want to annoy the powerful de Vesey family who owned ALNWICK at that time. The creature is seen prowling the estate post-mortem looking for trouble. The energetic coach took to paying less than welcome house calls, bringing sickness and plague in his wake. The villagers barricaded themselves into their homes once night fell. Then on Palm Sunday, the priest, seized with a Van Helsing-like zeal, enrolled a pitchfork-wielding mob, every village should have one, and successfully uncovered the lair of the unruly cadaver. Upon striking the putrescent body with a spade, blood gushed out, seeming to prove that the rogue rotter had been feasting on the blood of the living. Staked with a spade and burned at the margins of the village, crossroads maybe, the curse was lifted, the plague ended, and everyone lived happily ever after, well except for the serfs. They probably still had a pretty rubbish time. So was the creature really a vampire? It is definitely not within the scope of this post to do a full-on study of all things vampire as they relate to this legend. When I first came across the tale, I thought it sounded much more like a zombie-like creature than a vampire, but that is probably just my own bias. I mean, where were the fangs? A vampire is a dead body which continues to live in the grave, which it leaves, however, by night, for the purpose of sucking blood of the living, whereby it is nourished and preserved in good condition, instead of becoming decomposed like other dead bodies. The ALNWICK vampire was said to be a dead body, leaving its grave at night and bringing a sickness in its wake. The corpse, when it was discovered, was found to be corpulent and brimming with blood. So, under the terms of rights definition, the ALNWICK vampire seems to fit the classic usually Eastern European profile for a vampire. After all, people in the past were less likely to understand the post-mortem changes that afflict a corpse and might view the natural decomposition process and its occasional mockery of corpulent, rosy-cheeked health as something far more sinister and unholy. Dracula's guest goes on to suggest other reasons for the vampire legend which could also fit in this instance. DG suggests that in rural communities, when things go wrong, such as crops failing and outbreaks of disease, a community can regain some sense of control of the natural world by finding a scapegoat and then carrying out a prescribed set rituals to regain control. Whereas a witch might be the first choice for blame, in the ALNWICK castle legend, it is a vampire. And once the ritual is performed, led by a churchman, then the natural order is returned, and just as the monster is vanquished, so is the sickness that plagued the community. As to location, well, this particular vampire legend has become associated with ALNWICK Castle in Northumberland. However, William de Newburgh calls the castle Anantis, and there are other claimants to the vampire across the border in Scotland. George Clarkson, writing in 1567, describes ALNWICK Castle as the castle of ALNWICK, a very ancient, large, beautiful, and portly castle, situate on ye south side of ye river of Alne upon a little moat. Although this demonstrates how spellings change over time, there seems to be quite a big divergence between Anantis and ALNWICK, which phonetically, at least, sounds like ALNWICK. The ALNWICK vampire was said to be a dead body, leaving its grave at night and bringing a sickness in its wake. The corpse, when it was discovered, was found to be corpulent and brimming with blood. So, under the terms of rights definition, the ALNWICK vampire seems to fit the classic usually Eastern European profile for a vampire. After all, people in the past were less likely to understand the post-mortem changes that afflict a corpse and might view the natural decomposition process and its occasional mockery of corpulent, rosy-cheeked health as something far more sinister and unholy. Dracula's guest goes on to suggest other reasons for the vampire legend which could also fit in this instance. DG suggests that in rural communities, when things go wrong, such as crops failing and outbreaks of disease, a community can regain some sense of control of the natural world by finding a scapegoat and then carrying out a prescribed set rituals to regain control. Whereas a witch might be the first choice for blame, in the ALNWICK castle legend, it is a vampire. And once the ritual is performed, led by a churchman, then the natural order is returned, and just as the monster is vanquished, so is the sickness that plagued the community. As to location, well, this particular vampire legend has become associated with ALNWICK Castle in Northumberland. However, William de Newburgh calls the castle Anantis, and there are other claimants to the vampire across the border in Scotland. George Clarkson, writing in 1567, describes ALNWICK Castle as the castle of ALNWICK, a very ancient, large, beautiful, and portly castle, situate on ye south side of ye river of Alne upon a little moat. Although this demonstrates how spellings change over time, there seems to be quite a big divergence between Anantis and ALNWICK, which phonetically, at least, sounds like ALNWICK. The adulterer himself leaped up and escaped, but the wife, cunningly dissembling the fact, busied herself in gently raising her fallen husband from the earth. As soon as he had partially recovered, he upbraided her with her adultery and threatened punishment, but she answering, "Explain yourself, my lord," said she, "you are speaking unbecomingly, which must be imputed not to you, but to the sickness with which you are troubled." Being much shaken by the fall, and his whole body stupefied, he was attacked with a disease, insomuch that the man whom I have mentioned as having related these facts to me, visiting him in the pious discharge of his duties, admonished him to make confession of his sins and receive the Christian Eucharist in proper form. But as he was occupied in thinking about what had happened to him, and what his wife had said, put off the wholesome advice until the morrow. That morrow which in this world he was fated never to behold. For the next night, destitute of Christian grace, and a prey to his well-earned misfortunes, he shared the deep slumber of death. A Christian burial, indeed, he received, though unworthy of it, but it did not much benefit him. For issuing, by the handiwork of Satan, from his grave at night time, and pursued by a pack of dogs with horrible barkings, he wandered through the courts and around the houses while all men made fast their doors, and did not dare to go abroad on any errand whatever from the beginning of the night until the sunrise, for fear of meeting and being beaten black and blue by this vagrant monster. But those precautions were of no avail. For the atmosphere, poisoned by the vagaries of this foul carcass, filled every house with disease and death by its pestiferous breath. Already did the town, which but a short time ago was populous, appear almost deserted, while those of its inhabitants who had escaped destruction migrated to other parts of the country, lest they too should die. The man from whose mouth I heard these things, sorrowing over this desolation of his parish, applied himself to summon a meeting of wise and religious men on that sacred day which is called Palm Sunday, in order that they might impart healthful counsel in so great a dilemma, and refresh the spirits of the miserable remnant of the people with consolation, however imperfect. Having delivered a discourse to the inhabitants, after the solemn ceremonies of the holy day had been properly performed, he invited his clerical guests, together with the other persons of honor who were present, to his table. While they were thus banqueting, two young men, brothers, who had lost their father by this plague, mutually encouraging one another, said, "This monster has already destroyed our father, and will speedily destroy us also, unless we take steps to prevent it. Let us, therefore, do some bold action which will at once ensure our own safety and revenge our father's death. There is no one to hinder us, for in the priest's house a feast is in progress, and the whole town is as silent as if deserted. Let us dig up this baneful pest, and burn it with fire." Thereupon, snatching up a spade of but indifferent sharpness of edge, and hastening to the cemetery, they began to dig, and whilst they were thinking that they would have to dig to a greater depth, they suddenly, before much of the earth had been removed, laid bare the coats, swollen to an enormous corpulence, with its countenance beyond measure turgid and suffused with blood, while the napkin in which it had been wrapped appeared nearly torn to pieces. The young men, however, spurred on by wrath, feared not, and inflicted a wound upon the senseless carcass, out of which incontinently flowed such a stream of blood, that it might have been taken for a leech filled with the blood of many persons. Then, dragging it beyond the village, they speedily constructed a funeral pile. And upon one of them saying that the pestilential body would not burn unless its heart were torn out, the other laid open its side by repeated blows of the blunted spade, and, thrusting in his hand, dragged out the accursed heart. This being torn piecemeal, and the body now consigned to the flames, it was announced to the guests what was going on, who, running thither, enabled themselves to testify henceforth to the circumstances. When that infernal hellhound had thus been destroyed, the pestilence which was rife among the people ceased, as if the air, which had been corrupted by the contagious motions of the dreadful courts, were already purified by the fire which had consumed it. These facts having been thus expounded, let us return to the regular thread of history.